Now, remember when we talked about Brick and how he said being a successful producer is depressing because of all these things? Bro, if it's happening to Brick, who's 8 times platinum off one single, and it's happening to Tank, it could happen to anybody. So cut that shit out.
If he can get finessed out of his publishing, sound like pretty easy.
What's going down, NBC family? Appreciate you tuning back in with the Music Entrepreneur Club podcast. Yet another week, and we appreciate anyone who's ever listened to more than 2 episodes consecutively. Seriously, that's dope. We are the music business podcast where we live it, so we give it. And my name is DJ Payne One. I'm joined by Erinn and Erinn Knight, I should specify, and her name is spelled Erinn. People come up with some colorful misspellings of your name. There's Aereon, all types of crazy stuff. Dame Ritter's here as well. We're back. Erinn, where are you right now? Are you back?
I'm in Atlanta.
Okay, so you're back home, yeah. Not home.
Yeah.
All right, there we go. So if, speaking of home, I don't know how I'm going to segue this, but if you're at home, your music is probably at home too, probably sitting on a hard drive. That is not the home it's meant to live in. Your music is supposed to be shared. So don't just let it sit on a hard drive. Go to tolost.com, use our code MEC, and get 3 free months of premium music distribution. Get your music on all the platforms: Spotify, Apple Music, Tidal, Deezer, all of them. Ones you didn't even know existed. I looked at the list. I didn't know half of them existed. So if your music is sitting on a hard drive, I don't know what this is an ongoing conversation. People just drop the damn music. MEC is the code, tolost.com is the distributor. Put them together, you get free music distribution. How's everyone feeling?
Download the new app. Definitely want some feedback on the app. We now have a mobile version of Tolost, so if you've downloaded the app, put it in the comments. Let me know what you think. Before we even jump into our wins today, I've dove into the comments, and I want to issue an apology to Erinn specifically, and even Payne. I don't know if you guys have received this, but if you receive my communication as disrespectful in any kind of way, I know that we talked about this before we jumped on the podcast, that people hear things and hear it different ways depending on your experiences, your culture, things like that. In no way, shape, or form am I ever meaning to disrespect Erinn or Payne. I respect them wholeheartedly, and I don't think that they've received my communication the same way, but even if it's received by other people as disrespectful, yes, we do get a little bit turned up when we disagree on certain things. Facial expressions might change, things like that. We're passionate about what we work on, but if it's been received as disrespect, I apologize. I hope you guys know that I definitely respect you both. And I just want to put it out there. It may not have been necessary, but I wanted to put that out there.
Well, in my culture, there's just this kind of unwritten social norm where you just don't disagree with anything I say. So I accept your apology, Dame.
I appreciate that. I appreciate you saying that, but I've never received it as anything. As you know, I'm like a confrontational person, not like I'm like looking to make stuff like tight, but like I don't mind being like, hey, I didn't rock with that, like in general, like in life. I would have done it on the side behind the scenes, but like I think you've always spoken to me respectfully on and off camera, but I also have a ton of context for you. People get a 1 hour snapshot of your life, and we communicate almost on a daily basis, and then we see each other in person, all that. So like it's no love lost on this side. I appreciate you saying that. I didn't look at the comments from the last video. It must be coming from the last video, but I don't feel any type of way, Dave. I'm very grateful for you, and I know that you always have good intentions.
I don't even know what happened in the last video. It wasn't even the argument stream. That one
was funny. Now, the comments from that were funny, and I do think Dave was tight on that argument one, but I was like, I'm the same way when I'm like, I don't rock with this, and we disagreed with something, so I'm like, it was cool.
I don't even remember that topic, and we don't need to bring it back up. Typically when I'm done recording the podcast, we got so much other shit that we're actually working on. I'm not thinking about the podcast like that until it comes out, and then I might just see, some of the feedback so that we can, put that feedback into the creative loop of evolving the podcast. But I think that's the kind, people don't realize that this is not the only interaction we have. Like, I'm constantly talking with you guys. I'm always hitting up Payne for projects and things like that. So, Erinn and I are talking about, Big Jaw's upcoming Lesbian Homie 4 premiere, and she shot me a contact for somebody at an alcohol company that, potentially might partner with. So we're constantly working with each other. So I view Erinn as like a little, not a little sister, but like, just like little sis vibes. Payne has been my bro for a minute. Like it's familiar here. So for people that don't have that context, now you have it. But I just felt like I should say, even if one person received it like that, I felt like I should say something. But anyway, let's jump into our wins. As always, we like to share at least one win from our real life, to let you guys know how we're dealing with things and what's going on outside of the podcast. Erinn, what's your win this week?
I think I'm going to share an L, maybe some multiple L's, because, they say you take 2 L's and you get a dub. And I also think that all L's, lead to wins. It's just part of the process. Basically, I've just been struggling, mentally and just being am I, misaligned with what I'm supposed to be doing? There's a saying, what do they say? When you're aligned, you flow. And I've just been hitting my head against the wall, especially yesterday. Yesterday, I had so many things happen, and I'm kind of just go with the flow. It is what it is. I don't assign good or bad to anything. It just is what it is, and I choose to be hopeful. But it was yesterday, I was dang, just so many things that were unfortunate happened to me on the business side, and a couple things on the personal side. I guess my win is that my niece was born yesterday, which is why I'm here in Atlanta. I've been here for 3 weeks, just awaiting her arrival, and she decided to come after her due date. So I'm grateful. My 5th niece has been born now. But yeah, it's just been tough mentally for me. Working on 2 companies, thinking about what to do with one, if it's going to be dissolved or absolved into one, building a new one and spending a ton of money to build it and not getting the results that I want. And then just even being I don't have the bandwidth to go out and make extra money. So I'm having to be really tight with my personal finances and the way that I'm living. And that's tough for me going into the spring because I just want to be living my life. I've had to get really, really disciplined in the gym lately. I just changed up my eating again because, as you get older, you just got to be more disciplined. And so it's the results are slower. Another win I would say is I'm the healthiest physically that I've been ever in my life as an adult. Lowest weight I've been. Joints are doing good. Body is doing good. But it's just a tough recalibration. So I've just been mentally talking through it, talking to myself, talking to my friends. I go see my therapist next week for the first time in a few months. So it's been tough for me. I got to be honest. And I think that it's important for us to share these things because a lot of times we come in upbeat or we have business wins. But on a personal tip, I've been struggling for sure. And on the business tip, I'm not seeing any growth like I want to see. And that's been really tough for me.
Yeah, I mean, that's I appreciate you sharing that. It's just the ups and downs of entrepreneurship. The emotional toll it can take, financial toll it can take. There's not really any certainty until you get, hopefully to a certain point. And then Donald Trump might tariff your business and then you might need to just start all over. There's a lot of businesses struggling right now. There's a company called Draws. They do high-end underwear for men. And we worked with them with Big Jaw, and I circled back with them because we were about to start doing some new promo. And he was like, yeah, my business is just on hold at the moment because they can't absorb the 100% tariffs that just got slapped on. But man, Payne, what you got today?
I had one that I forgot. So I'll go with this. We had our monthly party, my DJ residency, my sister Cupcake host. It's a joint venture, and hit capacity that was last Saturday, and I survived because I had a show every night from Friday until yesterday. So Monday. So I've just been in, I guess, DJ mode. When it rains, it pours with these bookings, and I'm just saying yes to stuff. and it was a fruitful weekend. So I'm happy about that. I feel bad for the people that get stuck in line. Not so much now that the weather's nice, but still, like, you tell people show up at this time and they show up an hour later, and I'm like, I don't know what I can do for you, but I would be upset standing in a line for half an hour. But thank you for standing in line for half an hour to come to my party.
Shout out to the people still partying. That's, going out and have a good time.
Facts. I don't even know if I still drink anymore because it's like, it's been so long since I drank, and I'm just like, I don't even know what to do out these days. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm either throwing an event, but just going out and spending money on alcohol and being in loud places, I'm just like, I'm good.
See, and I'm like an anthropologist who's watching it all unfold from the DJ booth, and there was a VIP section in front of me, and so I'm just watching one bottle after another. I'm like, wow. And I'm analyzing people. I'm like, this dude's got money. Damn, that's his third Bel Air. All right, yeah, his people are happy. It was a fun night.
On my side, we are officially live with The Whole Crew is Stupid. We are dropping a sketch every single weekday and probably sometimes on the weekends, but starting every single weekday. We dropped a sketch on Monday, yesterday. Just so you know, we record these on Wednesday. So it's Wednesday right now. We're dropping one. Actually, one is live right now. We go live every day at 8 a.m. Pacific. So if you're into comedy, need a laugh, want to laugh, subscribe to Big Jaw's channel. I also want to shout out my guy Quincy. This is his brand, Grind City. So Q is my JV high school coach, who picked up film, later in life. So he maybe been doing it for like 5 or 6 years now. So he shoots a lot of our sketches. He edits a lot of our sketches. But he's had this brand, Grind City, for a long time. He just shot me a shirt. So shout out Q. This is a reminder to let people know, like, if you don't have people in your life that you've been rocking with for at least if you're in your 30s, at least a decade plus, like, I'm gonna be skeptical of you. Like, I've been rocking with Q since, I was 30 years now, essentially. I got a lot of people in my life that, 20, 30 years at this point. And I'm always skeptical if I meet somebody and they don't have any close friends, that are a decade plus. That's a red flag for me. It's like, I can understand falling out with somebody here and there, for sure, because people will do some weird things along the way, or you just grow out of that relationship. But if you don't got nobody that you're rocking with for, decades, once you're in your 30s, yeah, red flag for me.
I don't know if I have anybody I've been rocking with for decades.
Oh shit, Erinn, we're almost a decade in, so.
Are we?
No, I don't think.
I have people like 5 or 6 years, but I think I've I don't want to say outgrown as if I'm the only one growing, but I've grown away from a handful of relationships. You know what I'm saying? I think the longest one I have is actually, no, I have some people I toured with on Warped Tour. 2 people, 12 years, 13 years. Okay, never mind. I have a couple people. And we're still rocking tight. In fact, my landlords in Nashville are from tour 13 years ago. Okay,
there
cool.
You go.
The other side of 5, though, right? So we're at least 6, 7.
We have to appreciate the age diversity here among the 3 of us.
That's true.
Yeah. Anyway, let's get into our topics. Payne, start us off. I know you got a good one queued up.
Oh God. Well, thank you for sending this. Already, I'm annoyed because the caption says there's producers and I know it's going to be a this versus that, and I don't like those conversations. But let's see where this goes.
There's producers and there's beat makers.
Absolutely,
sure.
And then there's vocal producers and there's people that can do it all. You know what I'm saying? But the truth of the matter is, we trying to have a hit fucking record. Yeah. Now, if somebody can come in and tweak something to make it better, they are a producer on this song.
Tweak. Yep.
I agree.
That's how I look at it. So,
and I believe that they deserve a percentage.
Yeah. Everybody that plays a part.
They, in a brotherly conversation, yes, we feel like they should get a percentage.
Mm-hmm.
But in a legal conversation,
Right.
they don't.
What you mean?
They're not writers.
They're not writers.
They're not writers.
So like publishing is reserved
For the writers.
the original creators of a thing, right? Producers in this example I'm going to give you, I did a song with Diane Warren. Diane Warren played the chords, wrote the song, gave me a tape. This is how it goes. Make the beat around it. Produce the beat around it.
Mhm.
I do the song. We did it for Keisha Cole. I do the song. Like, yes, this is crazy. I'm about to share a song with Diane Warren. This publishing gonna be crazy. They're like, yeah, so how much publishing do I get? They're like, none. What do you mean? What do you mean none? I produced the beat. Yeah, you produced. But she wrote the song. The original piano melody
All
and
the
everything,
chords.
all the chords and all the vocal line
Lyric
and
and
melody. That's the song.
I have a lot of thoughts on this, so I'm gonna suspend my.
Man, what are those thoughts?
Oh, you just want me to go right in early. Okay. So personally, I don't. Shout out to Tank. He's from Wisconsin. People don't know that. Yeah, Milwaukee. Milwaukee's super talented. Steve the Stoner's from Milwaukee. Chicken Peas from Milwaukee. K Camp was born in Milwaukee, but Atlanta claims him. Rico Love's from Milwaukee. I could keep going on and on. Tony
Rico
Neal.
Love is from Milwaukee.
Yeah, Tony Neal's from Milwaukee. A lot of people in the music business are from out here.
Yeah, Business Boys from Milwaukee.
Business Boys from Milwaukee.
Yeah.
Trax is from Milwaukee. I want to say, actually, I'm not going to say because I'm not sure if he's from here or not. But
What's his name
personally,
from, Even Mag from Even is from Milwaukee. Y'all got it for sure.
Arrested Development is from Milwaukee.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Shout out Atlanta too.
Yeah, because they had a reputation, relationship with Atlanta as well. There's
Yeah,
like
they
a
record
weird
most of their stuff
Milwaukee
at
tip.
like the Stankonia Studios and whatnot, or like in that area.
Yeah, there's a Milwaukee to Atlanta pipeline, but I don't love that Tank is normalizing what happened with Diane Warren. So if I write a song's lyrics and melodies and Tank comes in and writes, a keyboard line, some top line melodies on keys, composes the bass line, drums, etc., all the stuff that he said, that's co-writing. I'm sorry. It's not production. It's co-writing. I mean, it's both because you're producing it, but you've written whatever additional melodies and embellishments. When he says all the pretty shit that I added, that's melodic. So even if it weren't, I'm not elevating Diane Warren. She's an incredibly successful songwriter. I think it doesn't matter, my opinion. She's an incredibly successful songwriter. I want to point out something incredibly problematic with all this. So first of all PROs, right, consider anyone who's involved in a song a writer. So when they said from a legal standpoint, producers don't get a split, that's absolutely wrong. That's when things get dangerous because that's a very clear absolutist statement. Producers don't get a writer's split because producers aren't writers. And then Tank goes on to describe that he wrote parts. So I'm like, nah. Tank, Diane Warren just played you. I'm sorry. I wish you had just said, you know what? That was an ugly situation. She shouldn't have done that. Her people they do business a certain way, but not everyone does business that way. And there's not any sort of like hardline legal justification for what they did. If you Google it, if anyone's ever registered a title, you'll know that there are all these different categories, subcategories for the writers. So it's not just when you register a song through BMI or ASCAP, you categorize a person as a songwriter. No, it's songwriter / lyrics author, songwriter, composer, songwriter, arranger, songwriter, programmer. Sounds like Tank did all of that minus writing the lyrics. And, the chord progression. The funny thing is, you hear people say all the time, beat makers don't deserve a split, but producers do. And then in this clip, they're saying the opposite. Beat makers get the split, but songwriters or producers don't. I'm like, nah, man, everyone gets a split. Here's the other thing. So Diane Warren, if you don't know who she is, look her up. She's worth tens of millions of dollars. She's written hits. pop hits. But she doesn't want to give Tank any co-writing equity for producing a beat around her song. Now, of course, Diane Warren, just like Azalea Banks, who we covered in a recent episode, and every other rapper who sings or claims producers don't deserve song equity, is a hypocrite. Here's a quote I found directly from Diane Warren. She was on a Rolling Stone podcast, and this is the quote: "Selling my songs would be like selling my soul, and that's not for sale." So she won't sell her soul, but if you work with her, you will have to sell your soul because you're not getting equity in the song that you helped create.
I think it's problematic to me because of who's saying it. Somebody who is like so respected, been in the game for so long. So the assumption is like this person really knows what they're talking about. And in actuality, it's really just causing confusion, because when I heard it, I just like, that doesn't sound right or fair to me. But yeah, that's what I think it's because it can have a real effect, because he has a voice, like Tank has a voice that I think, people look up to, people really respect. So if he can get finessed out of his publishing, sound like pretty easy.
Yeah. And no, but that's the angle that they should go with. Like, look, this happens in the business. There are going to be people who are trying to steal your equity. There are going to be people out there that are going to try to offer you these unfair deals, no matter what your level of talent is, no matter what your level of notoriety is, because that's another narrative where people are like, well, if you're super talented, then you deserve equity. Tank's super talented. What are you talking about? Well, more established producers, they're the ones that get the equity. Tank's established. So you have someone that's as established as Tank. You know what? I'm making so many connections now. Remember when we talked about Brick and how he said being a successful producer is depressing because of all these things? Bro, if it's happening to Brick, who's 8 times platinum off one single, and it's happening to Tank, who's, I don't even know how to describe it, a multi-talented singer, songwriter, producer, instrumentalist, it could happen to anybody. So cut that shit out. And really the angle I would have loved to hear, and there should have been pushback. There's never any fucking pushback on these clips that we watch. Like with the Timbaland thing, when he said AI is the only thing with a pure soul, no fucking pushback. When Tank says producers don't get any sort of equity, everyone's like, yeah. Like, stop saying yeah. I'm not saying say no. I'm not saying turn up on somebody, but just say, wait a minute.
But that's because it's Tank. Because it's Tank. What's the cat in the middle? What's his name? What's the producer's name? Does anybody know his name?
I live under a rock. Hold on. This is so disrespectful. I'm sorry. Let me figure this out.
The cat in the middle, his facial expression looked like...
we need to watch the rest of the interview. I feel like I don't remember his name, but I'm pretty sure he's a famous producer because he looks familiar to me, but I can't remember his name. I feel like in the whole interview, I just watched the clip, but I feel like he's going to push back because he does look like what he literally said, "What do you mean?" And that's my thing. I feel like even the way that Tank described it, the way that you're describing it, Payne, I didn't receive it fully, that he didn't get anything. I thought he was saying he didn't get equal, but I also think that sometimes, like, okay, I know last week I shared a win, and I said that I got a crazy deal for a friend of mine, and I was like, I didn't even get paid off of it. I just got really excited because he's a songwriter and he wrote for like a really big artist. A really big artist wanted to record a song that he hadn't put out yet. And then there was another song that he wrote. And then she decided, hey, I also want this song. So I went and asked for like a ton of pub, but also part of the master of what they recorded. And they gave it to me on both sides. And I was really stoked about that. But this dude is a songwriter. Like he does not understand splits, all sorts of stuff like that. And with the credits he has, you'd be surprised. I just got him set up with a pub admin too, because I'm like, moving forward, because you don't have a manager, your pub admin can do most of this for you, and then you just can collect on the back end. And then the pub admin I set him up with, I'm like, she'll also explain all of this to you. To me, this seems like a case of misunderstanding from Tank and not full knowledge. I'm not saying that he didn't get jugged, because that happens all the time. I don't know if the way he's describing it, because it seems like it just seems like there's some ignorance there. And if this is really how it happened, cool. Because I do know a lot of people, like, again, get messed up like that. But the producer seems to be like, explain what you're saying, and then Tank kind of goes into that one specific situation. I can't believe for the life of me that Tank would live his entire career in a situation to where if he's coming and composing all these songs that he doesn't get writer's credits. I don't believe his team is allowing that to happen. I don't think that he would allow that to happen, where he's basically just coming in and doing this stuff for free and saying he's not a writer, because again, he's a producer and he's a writer, especially if he's coming up with melodies that the songwriter is going to end up singing on the track. So, or that whoever records the track is, you know what I'm saying? So I think it's just more of a misunderstanding of vernacular than it is an actual omission of all of his rights. But I will say, people did get taken out of writing sessions, like their rights get omitted all the time.
Speaking of that, I shouldn't have read the comments, but there are so many people. Like, here's one comment where a woman says, my thing is getting production credit / royalties should be more than enough. Why be greedy and want to tap into the writer's portion? So there are so many dumbasses out there who, I guess it's the problem with, like you said, Erinn, it's the problem with the vernacular and the nomenclature and the semantics and all that, where it's like someone hears songwriter and they think, oh, if you don't write lyrics, you're not a songwriter, which is a stupid ass childish way to think. And it shows that you're not in the music business, or that you actually, what am I saying? No. How many people in the music business don't know that? Do you
remember when I called you like 2 years ago because a producer was mad he was listed as a songwriter on a Grammy nominated song? I'm like, you are a songwriter. He was like, no, but I want my producer credits. And I'm like, it's the same thing. That's just how you list it out. It's the same thing. And literally I negotiated a crazy deal for him. And then he started going off on me. This is what ruined my relationship. Not the full thing, but it was a producer. My artist got on the track. I negotiated for her producer, who also reproduced the track. He didn't have a manager. She was like, well, you need to rep him the way he wants to be repped. I'm like, I manage you. Like, I don't know what this is about, but like, I know the music business. And I remember calling you like, am I tripping? But like, a songwriter is the same as a producer legally on a track, right? And he was like, I don't want to be listed as a songwriter. I want people to know I'm a producer. I'm like, bruh, okay. And then it soured the relationship with those people. It was a whole thing.
That's a dumbass bitch producer. And the worst part is because here's the problem with producers. If they don't understand, well, it's a problem with anyone in the music business. If they don't understand what songwriting actually means and what the underlying composition actually consists of, then they're gonna talk themselves out of equity. Because if you had done what he wanted, you would have said, all right, you know what? Let me go back in, unregister him as a co-writer. He doesn't want to be a songwriter. He wants to be a producer. So he gets the producer credits in the little Spotify hamburger tab and no equity. Then when he asked, where are my royalties? Bitch, you said you didn't want to be listed as a songwriter. You wanted to be credited as a producer. So now you got your producer credit. Guess what? Producer credit is worth $0 motherfucking dollars.
That's literally what he wanted. He wanted to make sure that he was listed on Spotify. And I'm like, bro, you are one of literally 8 producers, because it was an award-winning track, and then they did a remix, and then it got renominated for a Grammy the following year. And he was like, da-da-da-da. And I was like, hey, bro, go back and you negotiate this. They weren't even going to include him on the track. No writer's credit, no nothing. They weren't going to include him on the track. And then, shortly after, I wasn't working with that artist anymore, last artist I worked with. And I don't know what happened with him. I don't know if he's still gotten paid from that song. I took my hands off of it. I will never do that again. I'm just like, another reason that I don't manage artists, because your artist will side with their producer who just showed up 2 years ago versus rocking with the manager who's been here 5 years, not doing anything, not making any money for all the work that they've been doing. But whatever.
How dare
Grammys
you
out here, whatever.
How dare you, Erinn, get him a reasonable split for something he created? How dare you make sure that his children are able to eat off of his work? How
And
dare
bro
you?
literally said, I called my other producer friends and they agree with me. And I wanted, like, it pisses me off so much. I wanted to be like, bro, do you know I not only do this for a living, but also teach about it for a living? Like, this is literally what I do. Like, I do this. Like, it's not that I'm like, I've dabbled in this. It's not like this is the first artist. Like, I literally have people calling me to negotiate their deals still. Like, for real money. I did that for my homie for no money. But like, people who have managers, publishers, whatever, still call me to negotiate their deals because they know the type of tactics that I use, and they know the way that I rock. And bro was like, I talked to some of my producer friends and they disagree with you. So bro, why do you have me negotiating for you instead of them?
Yeah, have your dumbass producer friends who probably have never read a word correctly out loud that's beyond 4 syllables. Yeah, have them negotiate for you. That stuff pisses me off because these are the same people that will fuck themselves over, and then 5 years from now, when they realize that their lives are fucked up and their careers are fucked up, what do they say? Oh, bad management. The music business won't let me win. The music business is set up this way. There's no money in the music business. It's like you did this to yourself. You did this to yourself. So you know what? I'm sorry that I don't have more information about that clip. I got turned up about the clip. Is that from R&B Money or is that from a different podcast? Oh, it's from R&B Money. You know, because when these clips get shared, they rarely credit or tag anybody.
Yeah, it's whack.
This is a narrative too. Producers don't get royalties, blah, blah, blah. And it's always because, the artists do more work and producers double dip. So you hear that producers double dip all the time because they get an advance in royalties. But it's like, all right. And this is what Azalea Banks was saying as well. And maybe this is how Diane Warren and her people explained it to Tank, just to break him down and make him feel lesser. And so he accepted that deal. I don't know. I can't speak on, I wasn't there. But say an artist gets signed to a label, the label pays them in advance. The label gives them a production budget. So they're not even really paying for this shit. The label picks a single, spends $100,000, which is back in the day, that's a conservative number, $100,000 on a radio campaign. The second that song hits the radio, that artist is starting to generate performance royalties immediately. What if the label said, you know what, no royalties for you because we already paid for the marketing, you already got in advance? Would artists have a problem with that? Of course they would. Also, 360 deals, are they popular among artists or are they seen as evil? Everyone says 360 deals are evil. Everybody. They don't even know what the fuck a 360 deal is, but they're going on Twitter talking about this. The 360 deals are the worst thing that happened. They killed the music business. So what's evil about a 360 deal to most artists?
I don't say they're evil.
You don't, but what do artists say?
Yeah, artists. They say because how are you eating off of everything, but you're not contributing to everything?
There you go.
That's what the first logic is.
So 360 deals mean that the label is taking a piece of pretty much every income stream that the artist is making. Compare a 360 deal to an artist cutting out a producer entirely from song equity through a beat buyout. Which is worse? A 360 deal, someone's taking a little bit of this, a little bit of that, or a beat buyout where the artist is telling the producer, you're not worth shit, so you get nothing. Beat buyout is way worse. Way worse. And we have to fight this fight every single day and try to explain this shit to people. My favorite new idiom is it's cool when they do it. It's a problem when you do it. Because that's the whole fucking music business.
It's very similar to how artists want to cut managers out. Like I did the intro meeting with the other managers that I'm interviewing during Music Biz. And yesterday we were talking about how Chapel Roan has a new management company, and because it was a handshake deal with her manager, now her old manager doesn't get a sunset clause. And I was like, oh my God, like to think Chapel Roan was talking about how she had to get a job in 2021 because she didn't have health insurance, meaning her manager from 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021. Now she's Grammy Award winning, one of the largest artists on the planet, one of the highest grossing tour numbers for a supporting act, like all these things. Her manager is receiving none of that sunset because, why should my manager get part of my success now? But it's like, your manager touched everything that you had to do to get to now. You know what I'm saying? Like even probably doing some A&R stuff, helping you to remember who you were when you were in those dark moments, performing, the Pink Pony Club joint on the street from the videos that went viral that you keep posting. Do you know what I'm saying? And it's like, again, if same thing applied. Hey, artist, if you recorded this song 6 years ago and it blew up today, should you get a percentage? Of course you would be like, yeah, this is my song. But for a manager, nah, you weren't here when it blew, so you don't get a percentage. And I think that it's the same as what you're saying. It's like they're not applying the same logic that they want to apply to everybody in the extraneous places.
Why do we do this to each other and then come right out and say, you know what, I would never let anyone do that to me? Speaking of contentious topics, I'd say this is pretty contentious, especially since it's coming from, a place of social media beef. And for the record, LaRussel posted this.
Yeah, LaRussel posted. So I guess and again, like when I'm talking about stuff, it's typically the topic. Like, I don't really care about any one incident, but it's just a reminder that we should probably have a discussion around it because, oftentimes you have a show, or maybe not oftentimes, we didn't cancel that many shows. But Hop did just walk out of a show one time and then just miss the next show on purpose. So I have some experience, some PTSD from this. So oftentimes shows do get canceled though, for many different reasons, right? And I just wanted to talk about how do you handle the canceling of a show? Now, I feel like a lot of times artists will lie about why shows got canceled, and I guess I don't see that big of, I understand that you got to protect the brand. But oftentimes the reason that they're telling you that it's canceled, sometimes it's the truth. Sometimes it's the truth, could be weather, they could be getting sick. I just saw a post from a niece actually who posted that he's super sick today, but he has a show in Vegas tonight and he's going to do everything in his power to make sure that the show happens. Some artists don't have the same level of tolerance for being sick, or maybe they're dependent upon their vocals and they don't want to give a bad show. I guess the reason that I wanted to talk about this is because, LaRussel could have had a perfectly good reason for canceling a show. I think it was weather related. I just wanted to get your guys' perspective because obviously the fans have their own perspective when a show gets canceled, right? They were excited about coming to the show. They bought a ticket. Maybe they came from out of town. They could have gotten a hotel stay, transportation. Maybe they needed a babysitter. There's a whole process and routine to get ready for a show. Beyonce is at SoFi this week, and I believe it's the only California stop. So I'm sure people are coming from the Bay, maybe she's probably going to Vegas. I don't know, but people have done a lot of prep to get ready. So there's different perspectives. And, when a show gets canceled, my thing is get out in front of it as soon as possible. I wouldn't be negative in any kind of way. I understand, LaRussel is the type of cat that will tag you in a post. I've seen him tag people, and I'm not a fan of that. Weaponizing your fans, because even if the fan is disrespectful, which the fan seemed like he was disrespectful, you already know how your fans are going to respond to that, right? So what you're doing when you highlight anybody on your page. You know what's going to happen if you highlight somebody positively. You know what's going to happen when you highlight, and you kind of are, even if you say that you're against negativity, what's going to happen to that person once you put them on blast. So I would encourage you not to do that, even if people are being disrespectful. And whether you tell the truth or not, I do feel like from a business perspective, you want to protect the brand. From a manager perspective as well, you want to protect the brand. But I'm also if we're lying, I'm upset. I'm steaming. And we're probably going to have an argument, which Hop and I did a few times because, to the fans, he presented one thing. And actually, when he left the show in Fort Collins, it was a tour. He just left. I didn't even know that he just left with a girl because he didn't want to do the show until months later. I thought something really had happened. So I wasn't as mad in the moment. But Hop did just leave, and then I think we missed Fort Collins. So the show was actually already going on, and then once he was supposed to go on, he had just left, and he created this whole song as if he had like a legitimate reason to leave when really he just left. And then I think we missed the next show on that tour. And then not only did we miss the next show on the tour, but he like was telling people not to come to the show like for the rest of the tour. So he became like an anti-promoter. But if something does happen, long story short, if something does happen and a show gets canceled, you know, you want to get out in front of it as soon as possible so that people can make arrangements to not go. If they can stop any additional costs from being incurred, you like allow them to do that or give them as much time to do that. I would just frame it as positively as possible. I wouldn't invite any negativity. Don't call out the promoter. I'm just against any kind of negative communication. I just try to keep it as positive and as quick as possible. I know that was a lot of rambling, but what do you guys, I mean, Erinn, you have tons of experience throwing shows. I'm assuming you've had to cancel shows before. Like how did you manage the communication?
I mean, even prior to the pandemic, I feel like we would try to be really intentional about being like, this is a rain or shine event, or if it rains, this event will be canceled. We used to, like, in the verbiage of our ticketing, because once you start getting past like 100, 150 people, a lot of times, even 100 and 150 people in a market like Atlanta, especially where I like cut my teeth, people are coming from like Birmingham, which is 2 hours away, different parts of Mississippi, different parts of Florida. Like, since I've been throwing shows, pretty much like one of my first shows was with Russ. Like my first festival was like capped out at 158 people. We had people driving 2 or 3 hours to get there. So we try to like be intentional, especially because a lot of my shows have sold out like since the beginning. So it's like, hey, we have limited tickets at the door. I was saying that because I know if people drive and then they haven't pre-bought a ticket and you can't get in, there's some issues, right? So I think prepping people ahead of time, but that requires you to be considerate of the fan experience and thoughtful about that versus just thinking about centering yourself, which a lot of artists won't think about. I'm coming from a manager's perspective. In addition to that, I will say a lot of artists lie, because I've had artists when we were at 30-40% 2 weeks out, like, should we cancel? Like, no, we're gonna have this show. Like, if we hit 30% of the show, we're going to cancel. But if not, we're going to say due to low ticket sales, we had to cancel. That way, the onus is on the community to say, hey, no, we got to rally around this person. A lot of times people are trying to save face, and you may have been able to sell the right amount of tickets had you told people, I can't, as a business person, keep this going if y'all don't show up for me. So that's one thing. Two, you got to have a contingency plan, especially when you ask people to make commitments this far out. I understand why this fan is upset. When I would do festivals, we always had an indoor contingency or a rain contingency. Hey, we're going to push back start time 2 hours. This is what we do when it rains. Our sound team is prepped to cover everything. There are ways to festivals survive. You can do a festival in the rain. Now, pouring, a lot of times you can't either, whether it's electrical or because of the mud. But like, to me, this kind of shows either that the tickets weren't great, there's another opportunity available that they want to take, which I've also had artists try to cancel shows because a bigger opportunity came around, or they're not prepared properly to do outdoor events and they're cutting corners on it. Because again, there's equipment that you can get that's sustainable. You can spend extra money. There's a type of tarp that you can get to cover everything. You can talk to me all you want, but I've been running sound since I was 10 years old in my parents' church, and I've gone all the way up to major festival level. I get that it's a headache, but I used to tour on Warped Tour, and we would do stuff until it was lightning. And the only reason is because it's an issue there. It's very expensive. the artists hate it, but there's ways to get it done. So I'm not saying that he has to be to that extreme, but I can understand this fan being upset. And for you to be insensitive enough to post about it like this, knowing that people have spent their hard-earned money. Come on, LaRussel, you was just here 2 or 3 years ago when you didn't have any bread. Again, like Payne is saying, shoe on the other foot. How would you feel if somebody suddenly canceled a booking that you were anticipating the money for all that last minute? You would be raising hell too. Let this person be human. Even if you've done everything that you could to post about, like, to turn on your fans, to me, this is friendly fire. I hate when people turn on their people. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, what do you expect me to do after this? Do you want me to still I've spent my money to support you. And again, like you said, a lot of his people fly from out of town, especially LaRussel. They make all these arrangements and plans, even if the dude is local. Like, the least you could do is dignify him with a healthy response or just ignore it. But to respond in a way that says, let me get my people on you. And his fans are even seeing it. These are the things that have turned me off to him as of late, as of recently. It's very evident that he's forgotten parts of himself or forgotten places that he started. And that happens to the best of us. I'm not judging him for this, but I'm saying I don't rock with it. I don't like when people do this. If there's a legitimate criticism, take it on the chin. If it's a misread of your character, then ignore it. But to do something like this shows a lot of immaturity. And to me, a lot of ingratitude for the people who have sacrificed to be a part of your career.
Yeah, he because there was somebody that hit homie with a death threat, and then LaRussel also posted that and was like, "Hey, this is something else we don't do." But like, artists know, if you have the type of fan base that's cult-like, and that really rocks with you, you know what you're doing when you highlight anybody in a negative way. You know what your fans are going to do. We've been online long enough to know. You could have anticipated that that's what that person was going to receive.
But you're making yourself look like the good guy too. You were the asshole. And then you're like, hey, but we don't do this. Like, bro, if you don't sit down, how about you don't do that first? You being a bully, you got the biggest platform. You got the say so. You got the fan base. How about you practice some restraint first before you trying to police other people? That's wild to me.
Yeah. But the other thing that I want artists to take away from this is, like, can you create another experience, like, in short amount of time, where maybe even if it was just a small section of the people that missed the opportunity to see the full show, like, could you do a quick meet and greet? You can even do a private meeting just online. Like, that's how I would be thinking. It's like, is there anything that we can do? I know that the venue's flooded and we can't get access to the venue, but is there another venue in town where we can maybe not do the full show, but we can do a meet and greet, just chop it up, do a Q&A, something, especially for the people that came from miles away. That's how I would be thinking and trying to salvage the time. If it was really out of our control and we couldn't, do the full show.
Hey, bro, you can have access to my next 3 shows in your city. Or, like, I know that this was probably a big expense. Do you want to pull up to the pergola and watch us rehearse? Like, anything. Do you, like, hey, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, like you said, same thing. That's how I started building with my artists in Austin. We had a bunch of fans asking for Austin. We put Austin on sale, couldn't get past 20% of ticket sales. I said, I can't do this. And I was paying for the venue. Cool, we're going to do a meet and greet at a vintage store. People can come buy merch. People were like, man, I'll drive to your Dallas show to see you perform, but this was so cool that y'all pulled up here and hung out with fans for 3 hours. My artists didn't want to do it, but I'm like, bro, what are y'all going to do today? Y'all going to be in the hotel, then we're going to go eat, then you're going to look at Instagram and talk about how the hoes this and the fans that. Like, let's just go touch grass and meet some people who support you. And it was one of our most successful events because we sold so much merch.
Yeah.
Briefly, what happened to me yesterday was that a producer reached out, and someone I don't know tweeted me, asked me, do I do collabs? So he gave me his email address. I sent him my collab info. Then all of a sudden, him and his friends are talking shit on Twitter. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And it's because, I don't know the guy. He doesn't have any music up. He doesn't have a following. He wants access to my platform. He wants blah, blah, blah. So I just sent him my collab service link. Because he asked me about my collab info. So he's going off and how dare you charge me $200? I wasn't asking for $200. He was like, you're wild for that. All this other. So to make a long story short, in that instance, yeah, I've said this happened, but I didn't, I think there's a balance where you look at somebody and kind of see what their true spirit is when it comes to why they're saying what they're saying. If this guy had said, man, I just can't afford it, cool, whatever. Yeah, I don't care. I understand. That's fine. Here, why don't you get one of my free sample packs instead and then send me the track and let me hear it? Because I wasn't trying to be disrespectful. You give people chances and then they disrespect you, and then you can determine, hey, maybe this is good content. Maybe this is a lesson. But if it's just a fan that's frustrated, people in general have terrible emotional maturity. So did Mario express himself in a disrespectful way towards LaRussel? Absolutely. Does LaRussel have a right to feel disrespected? Sure. But yeah, you gotta preserve your career. I mean, if nothing else, if for no other reason other than just self-preservation and making sure that you continue playing shows and maximizing your returns off of all those shows, sometimes you just have to eat that, swallow your pride.
And it's for LaRussel's safety too. Like, people are waiting for an opportunity to be in the spotlight. Sometimes negatively or positively. Like, that's and it can feel so embarrassing because you have close to 2 million fans. Now you're putting this person on blast. Now maybe your safety is in jeopardy the next time you come to that cat's town, because in their eyes you just blasted them in front of 2 million people, and a lot of people can't take that.
And people are crazy. He's already emotional about his show cancellation. He knows nothing about.
And you're somebody that's of the people, for the people. You're in the crowds, moving with not too much security yet. You don't want to invite that. You don't want to invite that energy because you don't know who these people are, what they're capable of doing. All because you wanted to spotlight and get some attention on a post. You could create a storm. So artists.
And we are in no way wishing harm on LaRussel or anybody.
Or anyone.
It's just the reality of life right now. Tensions are high, the way that our country is going, people's finances are different. You just don't know what happens with this strain. This kind of goes back to what we were talking about before the call, like the mentality of young people today. Like, me and LaRussel are, I think, the same age. I just don't, sometimes your platform will conflate you to where your thought process isn't logical. You're not insulated just because this is a post. There's a real world outside that you have to engage with, which is why I don't think it's smart for people to share a lot of details, personal stuff. But if you're a celebrity or a public figure, it is really important, not for you to be scared, but to tread lightly, because you don't know the genetic makeup of the temperament of your fan base or the type of people that you're engaging with on these massive platforms.
Yeah. Erinn, I'll let you just take the floor for 10 minutes on your topic, because I got to cut exactly.
It'll be quick. Payne, you can go ahead and roll it.
I started out, I thought I was going to be the biggest rapper in the world. I wasn't the biggest rapper in the world, but you know what? I landed in a pretty cool job.
Yeah.
And it's don't be so precious. You can reinvent yourself a million times. Every artist has a past. Go on, you see Post Malone or something. You see this person's first song. It's I like the evolution, showing where someone evolved. And I think right now the point of entry is easier than it's ever been. Start today. Start yesterday, okay? Just start. Because you never know what you're going to be. You could be nobody today and tomorrow have the biggest song in the world. Put up your music, make videos, express yourself. Don't be afraid to be yourself. If your music sounds like everyone else, it's probably not that good yet. You should do something that makes it sound like you. Just be original. Be yourself. Fuck everyone else. Sorry for cursing.
Yeah, I just love this clip because I think, especially for somebody like Benny Blanco, he comes from old money, comes from a heritage of he's just got it. He's got access to things and people. And I think a lot of times people are like, oh, if you have access, everything is just easy for you. You just ascend. And he's proof that that's not necessarily true, because if that were true, he would have taken off as a rapper, right? But like he said, he was like, he wasn't that good, but he just kept evolving. And I've been a fan of Benny Blanco for probably like almost 20 years, to be honest, because dude has been at it. He's probably in his like early 40s, maybe late 30s, but I think he's in his early 40s, and has been consistently not even just reinventing himself as a creative, but even his sound. And I just recently started following him on TikTok. He's hilarious. He makes these sandwiches. Like, dude has a personality, right? And like, he makes really good sandwiches. I know this is funny, but like, he makes all sorts of like really good sandwiches. And like, I'm just super interested in the sandwiches that he's making. I don't know. The dude is like a foodie too. So he has like all these like gourmet sauces, and it's just like these chili oils and different things. Just a fascinating human being. And it shows with his music, right? It shows that he's a multi-dimensional creative. And I think that there's a lot of multi-dimensional creatives who have so hyper-focused on the one dimension of their creativity that they're hoping takes off, that they have relegated themselves just to this existence and could be missing out on their actual portion or on the actual big thing that's going to happen. And I share this all the time. I used to always think I was going to be the biggest manager ever. When I started managing, I'm like, I love managing. I'm going to take my artist to the top. I'm going to be the biggest manager ever. It takes two to tango. It's like deciding to have a successful marriage, but only one of you is actually in love with the other person and willing to do the work, right? So I think when it comes to like being an artist or a rapper or a singer or a producer, the more that you can iterate in all of your creative facets, the better. I know a lot of people are like, choose a focus and stick with it. I do think you need to hone. I think it's important to hone in on things, but I also think diversifying, trying new things. What he's talking about is expressing yourself in the fullest spectrum. He says, make this song, keep making the songs, make videos. I think a lot of times so many people, creators, are looking for perfection or looking for that, like, again, like the hitting it out of the park. So they don't want to look like they're trying because they don't want to look like they're failing. So then they don't lean far enough into anything. So you just kind of just keep threading the needle ever so lightly. You don't make any type of stance or any type of presence, and then you blame it on the issues. But it's like, even for me right now, I'm just expressing my whole new company is a media company. I don't know if this issue is going to work. I don't even know if this is the medium I should be expressing myself, but why not? Right? Like, why not try this? Like, when I was a manager, I didn't know I wanted to go into management. I was trying to help I loved music. And I was like, there are homies who need help. And then I turned into the manager, right? When I started working in community tech, I know how to bring people together. I recognized the tech field had a lot of money. And I'm like, how can I express my creativity in this world? Even now, trying to make more money, I'm like, I don't want to consult anymore because I'm more in the design thinking world. I've talked about this. And so now I'm trying to figure out, how can I express myself in a design thinking manner that nets me more money and more opportunity than me just trying to say, hey, I'm a consultant that comes from the music industry. But unless you try to stretch yourself and express the full expanses of your creativity, you'll be stuck saying, I'm a songwriter, I'm a producer, I'm this, but nobody's showing me love, I'm that. But, you know, like, you're always putting the ball in somebody else's court when you feel like you have to have this one thing or this thing to express yourself. The more things you try, the more opportunities you open yourself up to. Like, again, I think if Benny Blanco didn't have a ton of bread, he could really turn himself into a social media influencer. He has millions of followers on TikTok, or hundreds of thousands of followers on TikTok, and doesn't talk about beats. It's just him talking about how love he is in, with how much he loves Selena Gomez and sandwiches. And it's fascinating to me. This dude is one of the most highest selling producers in the world and is talking about sandwiches, and it's really dope. So I think, see yourself as bigger than the thing that you love right now. See yourself as a full human and a full creative that can be explored and expressed in a lot of different ways.
But he
one
said,
way, sorry, Dan, go.
He said, you know, I think he said something like, I wasn't getting the traction that I wanted, so I realized my music wasn't that good. I think it takes artists too long to realize their music isn't that good. Even for people that are eventually successful, they oftentimes talk about looking back at their early music It was like, man, like really had to come a long way. I thought it was amazing at the time, but it was actually pretty terrible. Like artists need that feedback as soon as possible, so you don't sit in that space too long or forever, right? To get that feedback on your music, because a lot of artists, that is the problem. Like the music isn't as good as you think it is, but you're surrounded by yes men, and your mom told you it was amazing, so you kind of just stuck in that place where the music doesn't evolve.
Or the people around you aren't that gifted and you aren't really looking super far outside. So because you're around a lot of people and you're the best in that small pool, you're like, nah, I'm the coldest out. I hear people say that all the time. And I'm like, you all right? Like, it's not bad. Like, I would listen. I wouldn't turn it off. But like, am I thinking when I wake up, dang, I got to hear that song? Absolutely not.
Payne, wrap us up and give us your thoughts and then wrap us up.
Well, I like the thought that he's saying just put music out. And one way to start putting music out is by doing it for free through Two Loss. Go to twoloss.com, use the code MEC. I'm serious. 3 free months of music distribution, premium music distribution. That goes a long way. You can upload a lot of music, and just, I think more importantly than getting the music, or equally as importantly as getting the music out there, is getting in the habit of releasing music. Because how long does it take to build a habit? Don't they say 3 months? So I'm like, that's perfect. Start.
Facts.
Just, yeah, for 3 months, if you're on a habit of releasing something consistently, all that music that's just sitting on your hard drive that you're terrified to release, maybe now you're inspired by Selena Gomez's Boyfriend to do that. And I can think of no better sign than this, because it's free. So there's no obligation. And then after, I was talking to Busyworks about this last night, I'm like, yeah, because he's working on distributing music. And I was like, yeah, just use that. And if you're telling people, because he was asking about telling other people about it. And like, yeah, but after, like, the music doesn't get taken down if you don't pay for the membership. But if you pay for the membership, it's $1.75 or something per month. It's incredibly inexpensive. And a lot of people are concerned about the risk when spending any sort of money on their music career. $1.70 a month is not a risk. I'm not talking about buying an interface or, a $2,000 preamp or anything like that. This is very foundational. Get the music out. So twoloss.com, code is MEC.
And I have a quick little plug. I'm doing an artist feedback session in Atlanta. If you're hearing this on Monday when it comes out, it's on the 6th. What is that, Wednesday? Yeah. So, or Tuesday, pull up in Atlanta, artist feedback session. Everybody who comes, I'm telling them to sign up for 3 months free of Two Loss distribution, but that's also part of the prize pack that I'm offering, 3 months free. Like, somebody in the comments was like, well, what if I've heard that Two Loss is terrible? And I'm like, try it for 3 months and see for yourself if you've heard, like, it's free. And they didn't have anything to say back to them. I'm like, how do you have an issue with something that's free? If it's bad, it's bad. Let us know. Cool. But like, if you've heard it's terrible, they're like, well, I've heard it's terrible. Why should I do this? It's free. Try it out. Give us some feedback.
All right, y'all. I'm out. Peace.